Um, I got it.
Yep.
All right. Very cool. Well, yeah, so I'm super excited to talk about this. So first off, thanks so much for inviting me to come on. I love talking this. I love this Zoom format. I feel like it brings out people just in general that you wouldn't get a chance to see. I see you back there, Larry, hanging out with the cat. Seeing Mara a good bit. It's good to see you too. Yeah. I don't know. I love this kind of format. I love being able to reach people. I usually, it's fun to get to talk about stuff that's not super sciencey. I feel like usually I'm like the science guy. And so it's like, okay, what's this like complicated topic that we can get John to explain? Like, please explain insulin resistance and essential oils that help with it.
Yep.
Which is great. Like, I mean, I love geeking out on the science too, but I definitely feel like there's more people in the room now because we're not talking about the science. I think let's do, so we're gonna do a screen share.
Good.
Because I'm a scientist, right? So thanks so much for the introduction. I am a scientist, I think, in PowerPoint. That's just kind of how I live my life. I feel like Leanne, I do all the art and stuff, for like Leanne's, like they've been doing a lot of booths at farmers markets. So I do like all the art assets for it. I feel like, I spent 6 years working in PhD, and all it got me was really good at making pretty PowerPoint slides.
Graphics, there you go.
Graphics, yeah. Graphics, I mean, papers, patents, publications, all of them have one thing in common, and it's a little bit of science and a lot of graphics. So let me share my screen. Oh, no, that's not the right slide. Let's try this one. All right, so Shalene, did you give me permission to share?
I did.
Fantastic.
Good work.
All right, there we go. All right, cool. So everyone sees this?
We got it.
Yeah, so I feel like, so I love the, I have a shirt, I'm not wearing it right now, but it says like oils are like duct tape. And I always really love that, right? Because like duct tape is this kind of, I mean, I don't know, like I went to an engineering school and duct tape kind of had this mythical quality to it. You could really just fix anything with it. And so I feel like when I was first introduced to oils, it kind of had that same kind of vibe. It was like, oh, they do that and that too, and that too. You're using them for that. I mean, this is what happens when you open your mouth like that. Like I was flipping through the book one day and I saw like MRSA, right? So I was a biologist who done some infectious disease work. And so I was familiar with MRSA. We probably have all heard of it. Basically, it's staph, like everyone has the Staphylococcus aureus on their body. Sometimes it's antibiotic resistant. Sometimes you have a cut and it gets infected and it just swells up, right? It's called a bursa. And so I had this like bursa that was infected. And so months earlier when Leanne got into oils, she had this textbook and it said like, oils to treat MRSA. And I was like, well, that's clearly not right, because if these oils worked on MRSA, every doctor would just be using that instead of vancomycin or whatever other like higher grade antibiotics they're treating it with. And so, of course, I got MRSA from a picnic table and I had this, like my elbow just swelled up. It was huge. And so Leanne was like, oh, you have MRSA? Well, I think we have to treat it with the oils, because I opened my mouth. So we did, and it took me about 5 days, and which is about how long it would take for a typical antibiotic treatment regimen. And it just like, it cleared it up on the same speed at the same like efficacy as like antibiotics, taking antibiotics internally. And so this was just like a topical application. I like wrapped it up, made sure I wasn't going to like transmit it anywhere else. And it was just this powerful experience for me. I was like, okay, well, maybe that stuff in the book is really worth considering. And I dug into the science. I was pretty impressed. But there are oils for all this stuff, right? So the oils for metabolic health, allergies. I mean, they're different ones, right? But ultimately, if you think about it, where do we get our medicines from? Well, they're plants, right? They're like synthetic compounds that we're like, that we use, but like ultimately, like they came from plants initially. And so the idea that you can just use plants, there's different plants, right? There's hundreds of plants that we get our essential oils from. But the idea that we can use those plants to treat all this stuff, I mean, it just makes sense, right? If there are drugs to treat it, you can also get the plants to treat it. So, so I like to start with figuring out what you guys want to learn about today. I had a really great animation, but what do you guys, before we get started, what would you guys like to learn about? Just like to flip it around. Do you guys have some questions?
Can I give you my list?
I mean, you can give me 3.
There you go.
I got a pen and paper. Yeah, just give me 3. I'll make sure we hit it.
The metabolic. I got a personal trainer, so anything I can use to ease the pain after I work out.
All right. What's the third one?
So let's just go with those 2.
Well, I'm so glad you're here, Larry, because guess what? We're going to get to both of those. I was actually prepared for both of those questions.
I told him you were teaching and he had to come and watch and
Yay.
listen.
Fantastic.
John, one of my questions is, I have a hard time with aftershave my son lived here for a year. They just finally were able to find a house and moved out. I literally could smell his aftershave for 15 minutes after he left because of, I don't know what's in it, synthetic something or other. And I'm really curious if the reasons that men use aftershave, if oils can be used instead.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Okay, so I had a question. I had a question about hemorrhoids.
All right. I'm going to pass on that.
I got a great hemorrhoid recipe, Patty. Talk to me later.
Okay.
Thanks.
I did not prepare a slide on hemorrhoids.
I have a question about sleep apnea, since we all know Greg has 2 caverns on his nose.
Okay. We can talk
Anything
about
no, besides breathe. I mean, we just breathe, but if there's something to help with the apnea as opposed to just the breathing.
Yeah. We're probably gonna need to follow up on that. All right, what else do we got? All right.
About skin problems with teenage young men.
Oh, that's a great one. Yeah, I did not prepare for that, but I can help you. I mean, it's not just teenagers, right?
Right. I just happen to have a
Yeah.
teenager in the family that could use some help.
This is great. Yeah. I'll just stay on this for a second. I really wish, because I feel like it is, I mean, just puberty in general, right? Like I was like circling back to the MRSA thing, right? Like the reason why acne exists is because you have this you get a little bit of dirt in there and then it just like gets inflamed. And so like I was prescribed tetracycline. I had this tetracycline thing that I had to put on. I had like terrible cystic acne as a teenager. And so it was not great. It bleached all of my shirts because it's like covering my whole back, right? So I'm applying it on my face, my neck, my whole back. And like I couldn't sit in a chair because the acne was so bad. And so anything to make it go away was the in the household. I mean, I was doing that before Accutane, but all those things just trash your body, and the answer is just Melaleuca or tea tree oil. And if that's not doing it, then helichrysum. Add a little helichrysum to that. But tea tree oil is going to be a kind of antiseptic, antibacterial. agent that's going to do so much for your skin. And there's tons of studies that back up its antibacterial effect. I mean, in addition to like our personal anecdotes that we share here. So I would just make like, I don't know, like a 1 to 5% spray of tea tree and water, and just spray that. Or if it's on your, if it's like body, like I experienced, or if it's face, you probably mix it with FCO and just rub that on. Or even if it's just like a small area, just like take the undiluted oil and just dab it on. So those are some great options for dealing with acne. What else we got? I got time for one more kind of special topic.
Becky Baling put in the chat, improving bone health, reducing low-grade systemic inflammation.
Okay. Yeah. Why do I not see that chat?
You just push the word chat on the bottom and it shows up.
No, I see the chat. Anyway, oh, okay. Yes. I see you, Becky. Yes. So systemic inflammation will cover. Bone health will also cover a little bit.
And Patty says a cousin threw his back out, so some pain management too.
Okay, pain's a little bit outside of the scope, so we can follow up on that later. Well, we'll talk about it in regard to like muscles, but yeah, we'll see if we can address it. Circle back. I got a list. We'll circle back to this at the end and just kind of see how we did. Okay. But yeah, I think that's enough to get going. I had kind of a cheeky image that did not show up, which probably says that I shouldn't have put it in there anyway. So we're just gonna keep moving on. All right. So I flipped through. I've sat in on. So also just real quick, Shalene, if you get a comment, just pause it, or just like please just let me know if people are putting stuff in chat. Yeah. So I have sat through a half dozen of these like BroTerra or like oils for guys like presentations, and I'll tell you this: there are some differences between gals and guys, but they're not that many. Like we all have bodies. And so the idea that like, as a guy, I just care about my car and my beard. Like I just care, like oils for guys tend to be things like, like oils to help with your car, like, and we all have cars, like maybe like but the one oils that are specific for guys are of course like your beard care oils. I don't have a beard. I don't see you having a beard, Larry. Other guys do have beards. So I included some beard recipes on the side. I did have a beard for about 3 months before my wife made me shave it off. So I got to play with some beard oils then, but I don't have a ton of experience. We do have a couple of customers that that have just bought beard like recipes retail. And I had one guy that wanted, I don't know, he was really into this like manscaping thing. And we made, smelled about 100 oils, and then he designed these like beard blends for every season, because that was something he was really into. But outside of having a beard, I think that most of the essential oils for guys tend to be more about like introducing, like I think the whole BroTerra thing, it's more about, okay, here's somebody who's probably more skeptical about oils than someone that has unique health issues that need to be addressed, right? So I think I really like this list on the left of essential man cave oils. I don't like the destination man cave, although I do spend a lot of time in the garage gym. So maybe that is my man cave. But I will say that I think that, well, I don't drink alcohol. I will say that adding essential oils to like lemon, lime, and ginger to your drinks is just like, it's a great introduction for guys, right? Like there's a lot of health benefits metabolically for getting the citrus oils in your body internally. And they're just like a great way to kind of spritz up just some water. We got a soda stream. I was really into mixing it with fruit juices. And so, adding some lemon or lime or ginger to like some sparkling water was just like a great way to me to get kind of interested in oils. knowing that there were oils out there. I included this Into the Woods blend for diffusing. I think this is just like one I mean, obviously all those have like, cedarwood's great for allergies. Arbor vitae is great for kind of clearing the air, like antibacterial stuff, antifungal. But I think that those are just like 3 good oils that are not as flowery, which is why they're included in there. But I will say that lemon oil and then the doTERRA hand soap, my dad, who works on boats all the time, he loves working on boat engines. It's like his like passion in retirement. And he one day we're visiting him. He's like, John, you have to tell people about the soap. I was like, what? The soap? It's like, no, John, you don't understand. The soap. You guys have the best soap. I'm like, really? Because I've used like goju, there's like tons of like, I mean, every time, like I've never had doTERRA soap in like a car shop that I've worked on anything in. But my dad, he'd be out there working on like boat engines all day, and he'd come into the house and his hands would just be filthy, just like full of grease. And then he would just, my mom would buy the soap, right? And so there's just doTERRA soap in every bathroom in the household. And so, he would just like, the grease would just like disappear from his hands, and they smell great. And he's like, John, you got to tell people about the soap. So every time, I always like to take an opportunity to talk about the soap, because my dad, like the lemon oils, if you got some junk on your hands, it's just not coming out. Of course the doTERRA soap's great, but you can also just put some of the citrus oils in there also. That's great for greasy pans as well. If you're soaking something, you can just put a couple drops of the citrus oils in there and just let it soak with that. And then within about 2 or 3 minutes, it'll all just kind of, just break right up. So those are the kind of just for guys. But you know what else guys have? Guys are people too. and so there's a lot of health issues that women have that men don't have, but there's a lot of similar ones. And so some of the top 4, so I just kind of highlighted some of the most common health issues that guys experience, which sounds like Larry, they were on Larry's list too, right? So yeah. Metabolic health, also cardiovascular health, right? So working with a trainer. So I'll have some suggestions for how to, make it hurt less. So
cardiovascular health, exactly what are you talking about? Because that means many things.
Oh, fantastic. Well, yeah. So I have the next slide's all about cardiovascular health. So I kind of break that up.
I'll wait.
Yeah. So so I have a couple slides on mental health, metabolic health, and cardiovascular health. I don't really address the cellular health aspect so much in this slide deck. It's really, doTERRA has some products that help with supporting your body through like chemotherapy and stuff like that. But it's such a big concept that like, I feel like I can't really address it in like one. It would be a class in and of itself. Also, same thing with like infections. Infections also account for a lot of common issues for guys. That's also its own class. Mental health, I dip into it a little bit, but that's, once again, these could be, 45-minute classes all on their own. So cardiovascular stuff. So cardiovascular health, if you look at like the American Heart Association's website, they'll give suggestions for a healthy heart. There's a lot of metabolic markers. I'm going to kind of caveat that as a separate conversation. So like we have, like metabolic syndrome is a thing that's kind of treated, honestly, kind of separate from like your heart condition. Like there are people that are, that have metabolic syndrome that have healthy tickers, right? So if we're going to talk about just cardiovascular health in general, right? So this is how good, it's usually, it's like blood pressure, it's overall heart rate, it's making sure that the pipes aren't clogged, right? So this is kind of a list for so both like some tips, right? So that you would find if you were to like survey the literature, and then we can kind of dive into it into detail. So exercise, obviously, if you're exercise, and I'll actually put sauna next to that. Those both kind of, they promote healthy stress on your heart, right? So they get your heart to pump faster for a short period, and then your heart will get acclimate to that, and then you'll have a lower resting heart rate. Smoking is just the data on that is it's just really bad for your overall cardiovascular health and especially your heart. Heart healthy foods can be kind of there's like eat more fiber, eat less saturated fat. You know, the data that I've seen, it all points to whole plant-based diet is better, but ultimately why it's better is kind of three things. So there's more fiber, less saturated fat. There's not a lot of plants that have saturated fat outside of coconuts. And then higher micronutrients. So they like what you eat, it's, you know, not only is it like full of fiber that's going to help kind of move things along, but it's going to be full of micronutrients, right? That are going to help you, that are going to be anti-inflammatory, that are going to be probiotics, or I guess prebiotics are going to be helpful for promoting healthy bacteria growing in your gut, your colon, and it'll lead to just an overall healthier microbiome. Sleep, mental health, that stress is just, you know, it's hard on your heart, you know, that they've these big longitudinal studies that show that people that are more stressed, that have poor sleep quality, they have, they're more prone to these kind of like heart disease things. So it's all, I'm not super familiar with the kind of like the nitty gritty of like how this connects to that, but there's like tons of like longitudinal studies that show that. Now as far as like what kind of actions you can take, so that's the problem, right? You're stressed. And so there's oils that help with kind of mental health in general. There's oils that help with sleep quality. BroTerra has some fantastic nutrition products. There's oils that help with quitting smoking or just like addiction in general. Oils that help with, you know, getting back in the gym. And then Leanne and I have started doing sauna. Sauna is a great option for people that have a hard time fitting vigorous exercise into their regimen, into their daily life. You just sit there in a chair for half an hour, and then you just walk out, and it's like you were running the whole time, and it's fantastic for your heart. It's fantastic for mental health as well. So I could definitely, if anybody's interested in sauna, I would recommend using the sauna, and then also using like oils like Breathe or peppermint and stuff like that. And then just to kind of like dovetail on the nutrition side, the Lifelong Vitality product, as you can kind of see in the image that I made on the bottom right, there's just like a ton of stuff in this product. It has everything that your doctor would recommend, right? As far as like if you went to the best naturopathic doctor and they said, okay, eat all these things, you know, it would be on this list, right? And you'd be hard pressed to find stuff that wasn't on this list that they would recommend. And so some of the kind of stuff that's specific for cardiovascular health, it has the omega fatty acids that are going to be, you know, they're like really critical for a healthy heart, as well as some of the anti-inflammatory products in the alpha CRS that are going to also help just promote like really healthy, just metabolic health in general. So yeah, so onto the exercise component. We'll circle back to metabolic health after this. So I love working out. It's something that I kind of developed. Adult onset athleticism, I've heard it described. I don't think I went to the gym until I was 27 years old, but I love it. And so I do it competitively. And so these are kind of my favorites. So I've tried a lot of stuff in the gym, and these are kind of the three things that I like. So Breathe. I think Mara, you said Breathe was one of the ones. Peppermint's another good one. So I will, as you kind of see in this bottom right picture, I'll put it on my tongue. That's usually for like allergies. If I'm having a hard time, like putting peppermint on your tongue, it's not for the faint of heart. It's very strong. I feel like if that's something that you're interested in, you should probably just put it in a cup of water and drink that. It's good as like kind of like a mouth, just kind of use those mouthwash, switch it around. It'll open up all your airways. It'll open up your nose. If you're having a hard time with improving your respiratory capacity, or you're just like, you don't really feel it, it'll kick you in the pants for sure. And then as far as like, just like achiness, this middle bottom picture has me applying Deep Blue Rub at a strongman competition, but I actually like the Deep Blue sticks now better. For a while there, the Deep Blue Rub, I was, even before they came out with the sticks, I was putting a drop or two of copaiba, and then on like my knees or I had a lot of pain in my shoulders. So I would put the copaiba on the shoulder, and then put the Deep Blue Rub on top of that, and then go run to the bathroom and wash my hands before I forgot. And so, with the Deep Blue sticks, like I just carry that, it's really kind of replaced the Deep Blue like oil, and also replaced like, all the kind of mess of using the lotion. So the rub, I'd recommend the sticks for everybody. And they're at a much more accessible price point. So I definitely would recommend the sticks on top of that. So metabolic health. I did a whole slide deck before on metabolic health in general, and oils to help with insulin resistance in specific. This is a slide from that, basically kind of highlighting some of the kind of two big areas for metabolic health. So like you mentioned, Larry, there's this cardiovascular health kind of blends into metabolic health, although there are some people with great tickers that just have bad like lab results, right? Like their lipid counts are garbage, all that stuff, but like the mechanics of their heart just keep ticking, right? And how people end up in that situation, I don't really know. I assume there's like a genetic component there. I know people that like, I got a brother-in-law who's a firefighter, and like he's got like, just like a ton of heart disease, tons of like, he's like super active, but still he has to worry about like this underlying heart condition that like his family has, right? And so just this like, so luckily there's some overlap here between what is helpful both on the cardiovascular side and the blood glucose, and just like general metabolic health. Speaking as a guy, Slim and Sassy could probably use some better branding. I don't really feel a need to be sassy. And I'm not sometimes I am trying to like work on my girlish physique, but most of the time I'm not trying to slim down. That's not what I'm interested in. But I will say that this is an absolutely fantastic product as far as boosting metabolic health. It's great in water too. So some of the oils in it, cinnamon, ginger, grapefruit, and then what else? So many in there. But that Slim and Sassy oil is going to be the one that like anybody is going to recommend for just overall metabolic health. And so it's good for both cardiovascular health and for just like overall like reducing like cravings for sweets, all that kind of stuff, all the things that your doctor wants you to do desperately. So the Slim and Sassy is going to help with. So Slim and Sassy and Lifelong Vitality Pack are the two products that I recommend for any guy that's interested in just improving their overall metabolic health.
John, I just gotta ask.
Yeah.
Aren't all Levitts sassy?
Oh, my brother is less sassy. I would say,
I know your parents.
yeah, they are pretty sassy. Absolutely. We could all use to, my dad is looking slimmer than ever. I don't know if you've seen him lately.
No, I haven't. I'd like to now.
Yeah, he is I think he's lost about he's staying active, and I don't know. Yeah, he's slimmer and sassier than ever before. I'll say that.
I'll have to call him up. We'll have to go do a meetup somewhere.
Yeah.
Chat.
Sounds great. Yeah. So yeah, so the turmeric is another one. So I'll just kind of quickly speak to the turmeric duo caps. So turmeric is an oil that is, so turmeric is a nutraceutical. So nutraceutical is, it's like a pharmaceutical, but it's like from the plant, right? So, and then it's addressing the nutritional component rather than being something that is just like a synthetic product that's been tested, that's been extracted from the plant and then, or synthesized chemically. So the turmeric has, if you read any of these studies on turmeric, one of the big things that they always get at is bioavailability. You know, how well, you know, you can just eat like a whole bag of turmeric, but your body's not necessarily going to be able to absorb it. And so what they did was they packaged the turmeric, the actual plant matter, in a highly compact form, along with the turmeric essential oil, which is and then it's like, I think 32 times more bioavailable. So it's, can you mute that, please? So we're both here now. So yeah, so it's like just like a ton more concentrated and more available. So you're able to actually see those health benefits. So emotional support. So guys, you know, we like to be sassy, as Larry said. We like to make jokes. We don't necessarily like to, you know, I guess one of the things that I did see this was, so guys' tear ducts are 1/5 the size of women's. We just have smaller tear ducts. So when you see guys, their like eyes are like wet. It's like we're just like gushing like tears. So that is, so when, you know, you hear about guys being kind of like withdrawn emotionally, some of that is actually biologically derived. And so in addition to society, right? So the good news is that with the oils, Dr. Damaris on our team, he's a chiropractor, he's done a ton of work, and he's worked with probably thousands of patients at this point using essential oils. And so he would do a lot of, you know, one of the things that he found was that, you know, people would come to him over and over again with similar health issues, and he would like start working with them, and he would start to realize like, well, you know, you have this kind of like physical issue, but there's this emotional issue on top of that that's really kind of related to it, right? And that he found that, you know, sometimes it's just like a structural issue with the body, but sometimes, you know, like especially things like gut, like, you know, there always be this kind of like mind-body connection and so that a lot of times, you know, he could treat the body, but they would keep coming back until he treated the mind, right? And sometimes he would just treat the mind, you know, those emotions first, and the body would just sort itself out. And so he can only see, he's a doctor, he has an office, he can only see so many people. And he went from hour-long sessions to 30-minute sessions, 15, and he'll meet you for 5 minutes, right? So, but there's still only one of him. So he came up with this EO technique on the website at the bottom. And basically what he did was he used his thousands of patients, that, you know, he kind of looked at what emotions were getting cleared in these like sessions that he was doing with people, and then was able to kind of develop this process, right? So when people would have emotions would be kind of like bracketed, you know, like grief, sadness, crying, you know, he would treat it with ginger. And so he found, you know, he had a whole system that he would use in his sessions with people, but he wanted to have something that people could just kind of apply on their own, you know, in their home, right? Not need to see him, right? What kind of a doctor doesn't want people to see him? And so what he found was that you kind of look at my hands, right? Let's look at the picture, right? You kind of put the oils on your wrist, and then put your thumbs, right, up to the bridge of your, right by your eyebrows, and then just breathe, right? And so he kind of found these kind of connections between different oils and like clearing these different emotional states. And so, you know, as like a guy, I don't always want to go and like share my problems with someone else. And I love that the EO technique is something that we already have the oils, right? We have a lot of these oils already sitting around, and I can just kind of on my own address these emotions by myself, right? And so just kind of sitting there, breathing in, with the kind of positioning of the hands, you're breathing it in from off your wrists, and you're able to kind of like just move on, right? Like that's the goal, right? It's not to like sit in this emotion, all that stuff in that word cloud up there on the left. It's really about to just feel it, figure out what I need to do, and then just move on, right? And as a guy, right, this is about BroTerra, this is about guys. As a guy, I don't want to sit in any emotion. I just want to move on with my life, right? And so that's how I use the oils to kind of process that and move on. So you don't have to, copy down the list. You just go to the website. It's all there for free. So you can just access the same PDF that I pulled this from, and it explains how to use it. All right. So another thing guys like is that guys like money, right? So there's an oil. So, there's
Oil for money?
so going back to that slide that I had, the 4 health problems that guys have, the 5th one that I had on that list that got cut off was a hole in their pocket where the money goes out. And so if there's just like an oil that just like plugged that hole, it'd be great. And so one of the things that I feel like when I've talked to guys, I think we actually have as far as like wellness advocates on our team, I feel like for a while there we were at about 50-50 as far as like how many guys and gals signed up with us. And I think one of the reasons is because we were really quick to demonstrate that this is like a way to make money, right? This is a business opportunity. Like if you're seeing benefits, it's just as simple as sharing it with other people and helping them figure out their problem, solutions to their problems. And that for me, like I was pretty blown away by the idea that like I could supplement, replace my income. And that, in a couple of years, Leanne will be making more than I would. And I did the PhD thing, right? So, so that was something that was really attractive to me and something that's really kept me going over the years. Ways to get started. I feel like for guys, we talked about a lot of products. BroTerra put together this healthy habits kit a couple of years ago. If you have guys in your life that are like, I don't know about this like oil thing, this is the kit for them to get started with, because we talked about the Lifelong Vitality Pack. We go into more detail if anybody's interested. I have like, I don't know, 40 pages of PDFs of scientific literature and stuff that I could send somebody. But I felt like this graphic kind of breaks it down in the most concise way possible. Like the energy, nutrition, health, right? Like, we talked about cardiovascular health. We talked about metabolic health, Lifelong Vitality Pack. There's so much packed into there. They put so much thought into the overall product development for that. It really covers so many of those bases. And it's really, I think it's like 6 pills in the morning, 6 pills in the afternoon. It feels like a lot for some people that aren't used to taking supplements. But if you go to a doctor and they're like, okay, you have these cardiovascular issues, you need to start like supplementing your nutrition. Well, they're going to recommend a lot more pills, right? And so the same thing with the Terrazyme. If you do like to eat some good red meat, Terrazyme is going to help, or whatever, right? Like some people, they're lactose intolerant, they eat ice cream, they feel terrible. Terrazyme, whatever your digestive issue is, Terrazyme is going to be the one that helps like clear out your bowels. And the PB Assist is going to help kind of refill them with healthy bacteria, right? So
A perfect kit for men.
I love this one. Yeah, and it's all pills. You don't have to be into any wooey stuff, and that's going to be the thing that covers it all, right? If you hate being out of work and like showing up to your job, like I do, once you start feeling that kind of itch at the back of your throat, taking a couple of drops of On Guard, it's gonna, that's all you need to know. There's more science that backs On Guard than there is the airborne or like those vitamin C pills. Yeah, just a couple of drops of On Guard, drink some water, and you're good to go. Same thing with lemon. And like we talked about, it's great for helping if your hands are greasy too. We didn't really cover sleep that much. But since I think it was a question that was addressed, lavender and then the Serenity oil on wherever, pillows, feet. I like to put it on the back of my neck, front of my neck. So I kind of smell it, but it's not going to get in my eyes as I roll around on that pillow. Some people swear by putting it on their feet. I like to smell it, you know. Also, other great ones for that are vetiver or spikenard. I saw a lot of benefits from spikenard, but Leanne always made me pull my socks up because she didn't like the smell.
Yep.
So your mileage may vary. You should probably be respectful of whoever you're sleeping next to. And then balance is a great one. It's also a good one for kind of that like emotional grounding stuff. If you're not into the EO technique, balance is just a great one for emotional health. And then frankincense, it's great for, it was on that list for metabolic and cardiovascular health. So, and then also it's just great in general. You can blend it with the copaiba and the deep blue as well to kind of help with aches and pains. And then, so yeah, so I love that they made this kit. And they also have, there's a ton of like literature that they have on like how to kind of keep those reminders going for yourself while you're kind of building the habit of using it. Yeah, and then LRP, I think that like if you're a guy, once you're kind of like using the oils, the ones that are going to be in your regular resupply are going to be the LOV, and then I suggest the Slim and Sassy. The soft gels are the best way to buy them. They're the cheapest. They're cheaper than buying the straight oil, and you're going to get all those health benefits. So that's what I would recommend. Yeah, and start getting points back. So you can't beat that. So yeah. So I think we covered. Let's go down the list. So we talked about metabolic health, what to do when you're working out. I guess we didn't really cover aftershave, but I would kind of bracket that as just saying the same stuff that we talked about for just skin in general. Aftershave is going to be a lot of, it's going to be antibacterial, right? That's why it has the alcohol in it. That's why, that Home Alone face I always think of.
Okay.
That's what kind of makes aftershave special. Although doTERRA does have a Amavi, I think it's an Amavi aftershave for guys. I've used it a couple times. I would just probably just make my own with like Melaleuca or tea tree oil or something like that.
Witch hazel, maybe use witch hazel instead of alcohol.
I mean, the thing is that like the whole point of having the alcohol in there is that it's antiseptic, and like the tea tree oil is going to do that for you anyway. So I probably put some helichrysum in there, like a couple drops of helichrysum, because I probably cut myself shaving.
Frankincense.
Yeah, exactly. Frankincense is another great one for skin. So those are all just kind of general. All those are going to have antibacterial properties. Notice I use there's a distinction between antibiotics and antibacterial agents. This is like a real nuanced thing, but I'm just using that language in a precise way. So antibacterial stuff is stuff that you put on the outside. Antibiotics are stuff that you take internally. So these all have like really strong antibacterial, antiseptic properties. And so you're gonna see a lot of those kind of benefits of using those kind of on your skin on the outside. So just to kind of summarize for just the general skin stuff, frankincense, tea tree, what else? Helichrysum. I mean, you can put some yarrow in there too if you want. I mean, this is getting a lot more complicated. I would just probably put tea tree and coconut oil and call it a day. I try to keep my blends really simple so that I know. And then like if they're not working or something like that, then I'll go back and iterate. But usually just like I'll just keep a bottle of tea tree by the sink and then just kind of go from there. What else we call it? We talked about systemic inflammation and bone health. So bone health. So the studies that I've read on bone health, weightlifting is really good for bone health because it's gonna kind of put pressure on the bones. And it's there's kind of two aspects to it. So one is you want to make sure that you have enough calcium in your diet, right? But not too much because you can also over calcium. So when they've seen like it basically makes brittle bones by people that take these like super mega doses of calcium. So the key is to get it to be absorbed into the actual bones. And it's usually you have to do it when you're younger because you're kind of fighting against the trying to hold back the tide as you get older. So
You almost said losing battle, John.
I know. I corrected myself. You're holding, you're plugging the dikes, right? But it's yeah. So it's we all get old, right? It's about aging gracefully, Shalene.
Yep.
But yeah, but you can still, but like weighted exercises are going to help a lot. So basically you want to get your nutritional calcium level up to the point that it's going to do something. And then you want to use, like weighted kind of exercises that are going to kind of like apply pressure on your bones to kind of force them to grow denser. Right. So that's
And you want to be sure to use vitamin D and magnesium as well, right, John?
Yeah, D, magnesium, calcium.
Because they help you to absorb the calcium.
Yeah, they help a lot of it. So it's a lot of the stuff. So these studies are really tough, like the bone density ones. And some of them, it's kind of a mess actually, as far as the literature goes. There's a lot of genetic factors. Caucasians and Asians just lose bone density at a higher rate. But you can kind of, calcium, D. doTERRA has a bone nutrient supplement that I think is pretty good. Also, people take it with the phytoestrogen. It's kind of designed around this kind of like overall women's health, which is not the topic today. But that's the kind of the benefit, right? So they've kind of packaged all that together. But once again, just to kind of my value add here is that like the weights make a big difference. So it's not just cardio, like running, elliptical, whatever. You want to add some kind of weighted exercises to kind of help increase that both the muscle strength and then also the bone density. Of course, safely, right? That's really important. But yeah, that makes a big difference in the overall bone density. So
Sounds good. Hey, John, there was one question about which kind of soap your dad liked. Was it the hand soap or bar soap? I would guess it's On Guard liquid is what I'm guessing.
Yeah, so this is actually, he was a bigger fan. It's the old soap. We haven't done it since Bode came out. But yeah, this was just like the regular On Guard hand soap. He just loved it. Yeah, so it was kind of a game changer for him. He was like, yeah, it's not about smell. He has a hard time smelling, but
It was full strength.
yeah, it was full strength. So just
I like to dilute and put it in a foam thing, but yeah, full strength, it really does a job.
Yeah, so treat yourself to great soap, don't dilute, and go work on some boats.
You're awesome, John. Thank you so much for your time and information. Yep, it was awesome. I can't thank you enough for touching on emotions, because quite often we slip that away for our men. So thank you.
Yeah. Well, I think, if you just kind of give them the tools and let them handle it themselves, and then just like, did you do the thing? Just a gentle reminders, but not, I think that makes a big difference, right?
Sounds good.
Yeah. Well, cool. Well,
Appreciate it.
Well, thanks so much, guys. It's great talking to
Thanks,
you.
John. Hey, we've got next week, Lee will do a short little deep blue. It's one of those nights when I have a basket on my porch. I've got some samples ready for deep blue if you live nearby. And Lee will be teaching us just a little bit about deep blue for just a short Zoom next Tuesday night. So feel free to join us then. Thanks for getting on. So glad, Larry. Thanks for coming. And I think Michael was here too, a few new people, and I just appreciate it. And we will see y'all next week. And those who want to stay on for the short business meeting, please do. We'll start in just a few minutes.
Bye.
Thank you.